I want to thank everyone for coming. Hope you all have a wonderful afternoon. My name is Ken Hunter, and I'm with the Board of Directors for YPM Rocky Mount. We're the host here of the 2011 Impact Forum. I want to take this opportunity, first of all, to quickly go to the next slide. Before we get started, I do want to thank our sponsors. YPN, over its 10-year history, we were started in 2002, has been able to provide programs like the Impact Forum and also provide other programs and activities for our members, for Rocky Mount as a whole, as a result of not only the involvement of our members, but also the help of several important sponsors. Verna Gesselman, who is with RBC Bank, was supposed to be here today and was not able to make it at the last minute. But RBC Bank has been part of YPN since its founding. It's been a tremendous annual supporter of ours. We realize that obviously that this logo will change here very soon and become PNC Bank. But we do want to thank them for their continued support. They are the primary sponsor of this event, and of course have provided a lot of members who have served our organization as well as other organizations here in the Rocky Mount area. We are also thankful to a host of other sponsors, and these are those sponsors who not only are involved with this particular event, but are involved with YPN throughout the year. Particularly of note, Freedom Credit Union, who is a tremendous marketing sponsor for us, is providing door prizes for today's event. Decadent Delights with Therese Hunt, who made the chocolates that are there on the counter and who provides some door prizes for today as well. Along with particularly Pointer and Scroll, Express Employment Professionals, and Davenport Auto Park are our three corporate members. They all are corporate members of YPN, and we appreciate their support during the past year, along with the other groups up there. And just to mention, with the Chamber and Rocky Mount Business Builders, we're proud to be partners with these organizations as a member of both of them. And working with local businesses through Business Builders and the Chamber not only allows us to recruit and develop membership, but it also allows us to provide a service back to Rocky Mount in general. And that was our idea with the Impact Forum. This is not meant just for our membership. It is meant for all of Rocky Mount. And we would love to be able to fill this room up with 300 people, which is the maximum capacity of this facility. We also understand that even the crowd that's here today, we know that y'all will hopefully gain something out of it, and we look forward to a wonderful day. Just also want to point out, how many of y'all have ever been to the Booker T before today? Okay, there's a few of you. I had a chance, some of y'all I saw had not been here, this was your first time. This is a phenomenal, y'all see this is a very nice facility. I can tell you, as phenomenal as this facility is, what's really phenomenal is what it was before this facility. 2 years ago, there was really nothing here. There was 4 walls, a caved-in roof, a balcony area that was not exactly something you would want to walk on. This facility has come around and it's been open since this spring. This building itself is over 100 years old now. And it's really part of as you can see, of a large economic development project, redevelopment project that is being undertaken, the Douglas Block project, which is being undertaken by the City of Rocky Mount as well as the Rocky Mount Edgecombe Community Development Corporation. If you are interested in reserving this particular space, this is a multi-purpose facility. It can be used for movie showings, plays, weddings, receptions, anything that you can imagine that you need space for, it can be used for. We've had lunches here before. You can call the Parks and Recreation Department, Rocky Mount Parks and Recreation, manage this facility, but you can call them at 972-1342 to reserve this space, and they would love to hear from you. You can also, if you have any questions about space here in the Douglas Block, potential rental space, or any other questions about this facility, you can talk to me directly. I do work with the city, and I'd be happy to take your inquiry and pass it along to the appropriate party. Now, the last session that you'll see here today is about action and about taking action for the future. And I wanted to take this, make this one point about something before we begin. On November the 29th, will be a special event. It will be a kickoff for what is going to end up being about an 18-month visioning and strategic planning process that is going to involve the Twin County region, Nash and Edgecombe County. Nash County, Edgecombe County, the City of Rocky Mount, as well as all of the towns in the area will be working together along with civic leaders, business representatives, to formulate a regional strategic plan and a regional vision for the future. The first event for that, which is an open to the public event, is a kickoff meeting, and that will be on November the 29th. It'll be at the theater over at the Imperial Center, just west of us on the other side of the tracks. And it's a free event, it's open to the public, you don't have to RSVP. We will have a special speaker for that event. If you have an interest in the direction of where Rocky Mount and the Twin County area is headed, this is the event for you. It is an opportunity to meet other people. Now, there is a committee that's been formed. We have one of their representatives here today, Johnny Bass, who is one of the representatives for Nash County. Is there anyone else serving on the board for that, on the Visioning Strategic Planning Committee here? Okay. But Johnny is as well. It's about 30 people that are going to be serving on this formal board, but they will be asking for input from everybody. This is not something that is only limited to a few hands around a table. This is something that anybody, regardless of your background, can have a chance to have a say in one way or another. And this is a great opportunity for you, and we hope that some of y'all are able to make it. We really want to have a full crowd there because putting together this committee itself has been about a 9-month effort, and we really want to get the ball rolling with a lot of enthusiasm and energy moving forward into 2012. And with that, we're ready to begin our first panel, which is Embracing the Entrepreneurial Mind. And I'd like to call forward the panel members. First, our moderator, Elijah Daughtridge, who is an entrepreneur here in the Rocky Mountain area. He owns Daughtridge Sales, Longstreet Printing, and he's also the 2012 chair for the Rocky Mountain Area Chamber of Commerce. Elijah, thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm going to call our panelists up here. They'll give you their name and then also give you a little brief history on them. First panelist is Rose Cushing. Rose is a native of the area and lives in Middlesex with her husband Rodney. They own and operate Half Moon Farms, where they raise and stud American paint horses and American quarter horses. Rose is a print journalism veteran with experience as a writer, photographer, sales rep, and developer of special publications for the Daily Supplement, Kinley News, and Spring Hope Enterprise. This fall, she started Carolina Hoofbeats in order to combine her passion for horses with her professional expertise in journalism and magazine publishing. The first issue of the Carolina Hoofbeats was released in October. So Rose, if you could come on up, please. Our second panelist is Rita Wade. She's the owner of Wade Designs Jewelry and Bliss Fine Papers and Gifts. In 2005, Rita and her husband John established Wade Designs Jewelry, providing Rocky Mountain with a high-quality, customer-oriented jewelry store offering products across all price ranges. Rita and John expanded their business in 2009 with the opening of Bliss Fine Papers and Gifts. Rita is a prior winner of the Woman-Owned Small Business of the Year from the Rocky Mountain Chamber of Commerce. So if we could have Rita come up, please. And our third panelist today is Brian West, president of Wires Incorporated. Brian is a self-described tinkerer who first worked with machinery and electronics while living on a farm and fixing his father's construction equipment. While attending college to study graphic design, he worked part-time for a small car audio shop, discovering what would become a lifelong career. Brian moved to Rocky Mountain in 1997 with the opening of Circuit City, where he became the district lead for car audio installations. When the Electronic Exchange closed, he continued his career as entrepreneur by starting Wires Inc. Brian's business focuses on the customer with his goal to provide a one-stop shop for all customers' electronic and accessory needs. So if we could welcome Brian up to. Although I've briefly explained what each panelist about their business, I want to give each one of them an opportunity to expand on what was provided here. So we can start with Rose.
Hi, I'm Rose Cushing, and I publish a magazine called Carolina Hoofbeats. It's a magazine for horse lovers in North Carolina. My background is in the media industry, and then I worked for a couple of local newspapers for about 7 years as an advertising director. And in my job there, part of my job was to develop magazines and start them and make them successful. So we did 3 magazines while I was there, 2 of which are still being printed. But of course, with the economy, the newspaper industry and profits have declined, so I decided it was time to look for a plan B. So a wise advisor told me one time to do what you know. I raised quarter horses and paints, so I decided that Plan B was going to be an equine magazine. So I did a little research on the North Carolina equine industry and was quite surprised to find out that it's a $4.9 billion industry per year. It furnishes 30,000 jobs to North Carolina residents, and there's over 54,000 registered horse owners in our state. And that doesn't account for the people that don't have a registered horse or never bother to send papers in. So I decided that market had plenty of room for me to be part of it. So I started my magazine. The first thing that I did, I kind of analyzed the business and decided as a consumer, what would I want in a magazine about horses? It would have to be something that would be multi-genre because the horse industry is a little segregated depending on what kind of horse you ride and the style that you ride. English and dressage people are interested in Western riding and vice versa. So I decided the one thing that we all have in common is that we love horses. So I sat down and figured out a roadmap on how to get to where I needed to go with my product. I talked to top professionals in the state and I managed to corral about a dozen writers to write for me. I have 2 equine attorneys in Raleigh that write a column for me. I have a world-class veterinary service out of Aberdeen, North Carolina. We have the teaching staff at Martin Community College and St. Andrews College, which are the 2 colleges in North Carolina that offer an equine program that write. We have several certified trainers and the 12th ranked reining person in the United States that write for me. So the magazine has come off and been very well received in the public. The second thing that I did is I assembled a staff. I found a graphics designer named Cammie Naren who had won about 200 Press Association awards and made her my business partner. And then we worked on getting a sales staff. We have about 7 salespeople now across the state. So we have worked on that and got the magazine out. We booked it for 24 pages. It wound up being 36 pages, so that was a nice surprise. But then when the magazines came, there was 10,000 copies, and I realized that I'm the circulation guy. So one thing I can tell you is that you need to be sure you do really good planning with achievable goals. But after traveling many, many miles across the state with a lot of help from my family and everybody I could rehearse and deliver it for me, we've almost got them all delivered now. So, let's see. Finally, make sure that everybody in your family that helps you with this is 150% committed to your business. It takes twice as much work and time as you ever dream it will. When you make up the business yourself, it becomes your baby. You become obsessed with it, so you work all the time and trying to make it be really, really good. So that's an important part, that everybody's got to be as committed as you are at work. Then surround yourself with smart people. Delegate. Don't be afraid that they'll steal your idea because you're already ahead of them because you've got the contacts and the drive. And then the last thing is that success doesn't just happen, it's created. So I have copies of my magazine if anybody would be interested in having one. And thank you for listening to me.
If you would tell us a little bit more about Way Designs.
Well, Rose, that was awesome. I think you did a great job, and I commend you on all the efforts you've done. I can't say that if I was standing next to you in the judging of women-owned businesses, I would lose. So, you did a great job in what you've done. And, you know, I opened this business in 2005. Actually, backing that up a little bit, my husband and I had a small business in a garage behind our house where we hand engraved and custom made for over 200 stores across the United States, mostly in the South. And raised my family and decided that in 2005 I had decided it was time to be out and dress up and go to work every day instead of go out to the shop in flip-flops. And so I talked my husband into opening a jewelry store, and he came, as we said, kicking and screaming. He liked carrying his coffee cup out with his flip-flops at 8:30 in the morning. And I was ready to see the people. Those of you who know me know I love people. So I certainly found my passion, and that was to serve others in finding something special for them, and that's jewelry. And they are the most precious things that we celebrate the most precious moments with. And so, and with John being an award-winning designer, and I'm going to take a pause for just a moment to talk about John, in that recently he has received notice that he won a Spectrum Award this year. A Spectrum Award is very similar to an Emmy or a Grammy in the jewelry business. So this year, we'll be going to Tucson, Arizona to receive that award from the American Gem Trade Association. So I cannot say that we don't do this together 50-50 because what you mostly see is me. I'm the face of Wade Designs. And if it was for John, we would live on Poverty Row and we just give it all away because he's an artist. He just likes to make jewelry. So, I'm the business side of it all, and I have a degree in business and accounting, and I minored in marketing and computer science. And as my father said, I just like to go to college. But I feel pretty grateful that I did learn all of those wonderful things because it helped me in lots of areas of my business. Most of you know, if you've ever walked through the local mall, or any of you if you live in other communities, jewelry store after jewelry store have closed over and over again over the last 3 years. There's almost been a 40 to 50% drop in the number of jewelry stores that are still existing. Big companies have closed. And I feel pretty excited every day that I get up and say, we're still making it. I go to open that door every day and it's still my door. And so making it, if I can help in sharing my experiences of what we've had to do in this economic downturn to survive, because we're sharing less special moments tangibly with each other. And what do you do to survive the economic downturn when we are selling less jewelry? It's a challenge. It's a challenge every single day, and I'm thankful that I'm here to share that I'm still open and I'm still doing, I'm still growing. We are up for the year, and I'm grateful for that. So that doesn't tell you a whole lot about Wade Designs. Wade Designs, in addition to Wade Designs, I opened in 2009 at the peak of the most difficult time in the economy. I went to every bank in this town and begged for a small business loan to open Bliss. And if any of those bankers were in the room, they could tell you they all said no. And I decided to do it anyway. And call me crazy, but I thought, wait, Rocky Mount needs small businesses to survive. We need doors to stay open, and we need positive excitement to keep growing this town. And I made a personal commitment. I sunk everything I had in it to open Bliss and called it Bliss. And I helped to my thinking was, and this might have been narrow-minded thinking, my thinking was sometimes it's hard as a woman to walk into a jewelry store and think that maybe their husband would buy them jewelry when it's really, really tight out there. But it's not so hard to walk into a gift store when the items are $10, $20, $30 each. It's not so hard to buy the little things to give as a gift, and a little less intimidating. And so it's right center in my strip. So you walk into the gift store, and there's an entryway into the jewelry store. So I made Bliss a gateway into jewelry because I felt like it would be a little less intimidating for folks to walk into the jewelry store. And truly, we market them together, so we share in the cost of marketing. I wish I could say we share in the cost of rent, but we don't. But if you walk into Bliss, you will find a winter wonderland today, and everybody is singing Christmas songs. So, but Bliss and Wade Designs are growing. They're still growing a little bit every single day right now. So, if any of you are considering opening new businesses, You have to, if you are passionately desiring to open a new business, it's got to come from the down below. Just absolutely gut feeling that this is what I'm supposed to do. And with that gut-wrenching feeling, you have to have the passion and the drive to do it. And there will be some bad days, let me tell you, there will be bad days, but along with that is great days. You know, the ups and downs are incredible. So ask any question you have, I'm willing to share. So.
Rita, we're going to continue on to Brian. We're
Right.
going to answer some more questions, and we'll
Okay.
open it up to everyone to ask some questions. But you certainly have a passion.
I did.
I don't think I can top either one of those stories, but how many of y'all, when you were a kid, like to take things apart and figure out how they work? Well, I grew up on a farm and my dad made us work every day, and every time I found something electronic, I wanted to take it apart and figure out how it works. And when I went off to college, I kept doing that. And although I went for one career and I ended up with a different one, but I started getting into stereos at a 15, 16-year-old when you started driving just like everybody else, but I really took a liking to it. Circuit City did me very well. Although it was a big box retailer, they did very well training, and I stayed there 14 and a half years. Unfortunately, they closed down, and I decided, I did go on several different interviews, but I decided taking electronic things apart and putting them back together is what I like to do. So I get to enjoy that every day. With the stuff that I did learn in college, I now have the ability to design even more electronics, and that's what Wires Inc. started from, with the personal touch. What I didn't like about big box retail was you never got a personal touch. You wanted to wait on as many people as you can throughout the day to hit the big numbers. And I was good at numbers, but I enjoy talking to people and finding out what their needs are and things like that, and I love working on cars. So two worlds joined together, and that's what created Wires Inc. I started out with just myself and my wife. Within the last 2.5 years, we've been able to add people that were left unemployed from Circuit City that really enjoy doing the same stuff that I like doing. So now we have 2 full-time installers and a full-time salesperson, all come from being unemployed from Circuit City, and they get to share the same passion, and we expand each and every day. We started out with doing just car electronics, then we added accessories, then we added window tint, and we've added commercial window tint, safety systems. How many of y'all drive trucks and SUVs where you can't see behind you? We actually can add backup cameras to any vehicle. So it's not just car electronics. We do safety features, convenience features. You ever bought a car that had heated seats, traded in, bought another car that didn't have heated seats, and man, wow, I wish I had heated seats in this one. We can do that. A lot of people don't know to the extremes that we can go with vehicles until they come in and talk to us. And that's what we enjoy, is having people come in and talk to us and find out that the different comfort levels they can add to their car, the different sound levels they can add to their car, and even different style levels they can add to their car. So, I lost train of thought now, but that's what we do. And hopefully in the coming years we'll be able to expand even more. I do say that I get to go to work every day and have fun. That is the great thing about being an entrepreneur. I get to do what I love to do every single day. Both of the ladies up here touched on it, planning. Unfortunately, I didn't have as much time to plan because Circuit City was closing in March, and my wife said I better have a job by April. So I didn't have much time to plan, but we did pretty well. Circuit City did plan for that from the 14 years of management experience I had with them. Planning was always stuck in my head. So we took small steps, but now we're planning even more. And that's what I can say, is always keep planning and always keep growing. Always find an avenue to grow. If you're sitting in your office not doing anything, then that's exactly what your company is doing, is not doing anything. But if you're thinking things and put it down on paper, keep growing, keep pushing yourself to that level. And the people that have the same passion you do, and be your employees, you put passion in them, they will follow you to wherever you want to go. So back to you, and we'll ask some more questions later on. Thank you.
some great stories, and we're going to ask a few more questions to help anyone that is thinking about venturing out from their current work and possibly become an entrepreneur, and that's what this is all about. I guess we touched on the fact the motivation. I think each one of you described your motivation. One question that's always in the back of folks' minds: how did you finance your startup? I mean, there's various ways you can go. We've already heard Rita talk about going to the bank. Do you go and pay, borrow, and steal, or do you? How do you go about that, Rose?
Well, I actually didn't put any money into my business. I put $100 into a business checking account, and I've traded advertising and bartered and begged and worked for people, and I've started it for virtually no investment.
I agree, you have to do a little bit of that. John and I decided that we were going, when we opened the store, that we would do it, we would put personal money in, which we were able to put up, as well as we did for the Way Design store. We did go write a really fabulous business plan, and in 2005, I was able to secure an SBA loan. It was a very small one, thinking that we wanted to be as conservative as possible, but still, we were able to secure an SBA loan. When we opened Bliss, as I shared, I had to use my house as collateral, that I had a lot of equity in, and I personally that used my own personal equity to open a business. And in today's market, what we're being told, that's pretty common. It was a huge family risk that I took, as well as John. But the bottom line is, if you are made of what it takes to run a business, you have to be willing to risk it all. You have to be willing to give everything you've got. And you've got to do it. You've got to make some personal sacrifices in order to make it work. And some people may disagree with that, but it does take personal sacrifice. So
I definitely agree with the personal sacrifice on it. Like I said, timing wasn't on my side when I decided to open my business. We've opened everything out of my personal credit cards, which thank God at the time had a zero balance. About 15 days into it, they didn't have a zero balance anymore. But there was no, which we opened in 2009. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier or not. We opened in 2009, and like she said, in the midst of the worst part of the recession. So there was no funding from banks. So I had to do everything from my personal credit cards. I didn't put a lot of money of mine into it. I just put a lot of my credit into it. So, and that got us started. Later on, after a year time, I was able to secure a small business loan through Self-Help Credit Union in Greenville. They venture out to help people that doesn't have the very best in credit or whatnot. I'm not saying I had bad credit, it's just I had so much on my personal credit cards, I had no business standings. And I've grown from that. But if I was going to open up a business now, I would definitely start saving and planning a couple of years ahead to make up for that, because you're not going to be able to walk into a bank and say, hey, here's my business plan, I have a great idea, I want to open up a business, give me money. And it doesn't work that way. But yes.
I had a question for Rose. Sorry, I didn't have Rose.
Okay, but planning and saving is, you're going to have to use your own money to get any funding to open your own business. The planning and staging, if you have that time, I would highly recommend that. So we wrote out over 31 grants to help with us. I got no response from any of them.
So it sounds like I hear trading a product, applying for SBA loans, credit cards, self-help with the credit union, and advice there is savings. We'll get to questions in a few minutes if we can, if that's all right with you. A lot of times you start off as an employee or a manager for someone else in the business. I think Ron mentioned Circuit City earlier. How has your life changed as a business owner, or has it different than actually working for someone else or a company? Brian, if you
Yeah,
want to start?
I'll be happy to start. It's much different. You do work, I would say that I work longer hours, but I'm not sure because during the November to December time in Circuit City, I don't remember ever seeing my house. So if you've ever been a manager in retail during holiday season, it can be very stressful. So as far as the stress level and the work level, it's about the same. I can say that now that I'm my own boss and my store is not that far from my house, I do get have the luxury of going to take my daughter to school, picking my daughter up from school, and being able to come back to my office. And I have an office set up for her to do her homework, which I hope she gets it done. I don't check on her that much in there, but I get to spend a little bit more family time while still working a long amount of hours, because that is my second home. My wife says it's my first home, and other home is our second home, but it's not. It is my second home. I spend a lot of time there because it's mine, and I'm passionate about it, and I want to make sure everything is run right. And so it does help. It has its benefits, and being able to work for yourself, but at the same time, I do kind of miss having a little more support when I was with a big box retailer, because at any given time I could call a district manager or assistant district manager and get some support. And now my support comes from groups like the Rocky Mountain Business Builders or other chamber members that I can call and talk to, but none specific to my business.
Rose?
Well, one thing that's nice about being having my own company is that I have a lot of flexibility. So I'm able to do a lot of things and change my business as I need to change it from week to week and day to day. The bad thing about it is that because I own my own business, I don't get a paycheck, or I haven't yet, but hopefully that'll change eventually. My friend Cammie and I, when we started the business, we both agreed that we would work out of our houses to keep overhead low, and we would both wait to get a salary until the business grew into being able to afford to pay us. So that part has been a little bit of an adjustment, but my husband has a good job and he has insurance and all the benefits, so that has worked out really good in our situation.
Rita?
You know, I worked for North Carolina Wesleyan College. It's been 10 years ago. And I left there, and I hope nobody works for Wesleyan when I say this.
It was on TV.
There's two people here.
Okay. I left there knowing that I never wanted to work for another person again. I knew that my personality style, I needed to be the captain of my own ship. And I was ready for that. I had worked in retail. I worked for many places in Iowa where I'm originally from. So, when I left Wesleyan, it was a time in my life where I didn't understand why when the job was not done, people were still leaving to go home. I believed that you didn't leave until the job was done, period. And I was done with corporate America. I was ready for being the boss. So I hope I have been careful to say that in the best light, but it was a time in my life I was ready for being the boss.
Great. What is the one subject you believe you needed to have understood better before starting your business?
Probably the circulation.
Sounds good.
I knew this was a job that I didn't like when I was in the newspaper business, so that's probably something I would have done differently.
Rita?
For me, amazingly enough, I thought I had a great understanding of the psychology of people. But thank goodness, a few years into it, I hired a lady who has a degree in psychology, because sales is a lot about psychology and understanding people and understanding needs and things like that. And let me tell you, understanding what folks have expectations of and how to deliver those was probably my biggest challenge. Next to money.
Money.
Next to money, my biggest challenge was people, was really trying to serve people. And I had great expectations, and I was not prepared for what some of the challenges I would face.
My biggest one is marketing. At the years of management experience that I spent with Circuit City on both the technical side and on the sales side, I was pretty geared to running sales, running installations, doing your morning paperwork, budgeting, trying to work within a P&L. The management, financial side of it, along with the sales and installation side of it, I knew. Marketing, on the other hand, I didn't. Circuit City always had their own group in Richmond that created the entire marketing for the entire U.S. So I had to, there was a lot of marketing I had to look for. And at the same time, I was working on a small budget, so I had to look for what marketing was going to give me the best exposure for the budget that I had to work with. Once again, if I had more planning time, I would have definitely researched marketing a whole lot more before I just jumped right into it. But unfortunately, I didn't have a choice. My wife was pushing me to get a job, so we jumped right on in. Which it took a lot of the fear out of owning your own businesses. If I had to think about it, I believe if I had probably 6 more months to think about it, it would have took me another 2 years to build up the courage to go ahead and open my own business. But since there was a market gap in this area with Circuit City being closed, with Audio Express being closed, only leaving Best Buy, no real independent car audio brands, I just jumped right into it and did it. Marketing would have been something that I researched a little bit.
There are some entrepreneurs who can't walk. Rita, you want to add something?
The one thing I wanted to add is when you own a small business, and I'll bet you both of you have experiences, the other challenge we face is being a boss to employees and knowing all the legal things that you are and are not supposed to do. I've run into, made the simple mistake of, you work 2 weeks and you get paid for 2 weeks. Well, actually, you have to count their hours weekly, not a 2-week period of time, even though you're paying 2 weeks. But little things like the legal things that you're supposed to do as an employer for your employees. You can be a great boss, but you've got to follow the human resource guidelines and the state laws.
Well, fortunately for me, being with Circuit City as long as I had, and I'd gone through the HR management process and everything else, when I was in the North Raleigh store, we had 106 employees that I had to answer, to me, and I had to answer to them. But there was 106 different personalities that you had to deal with. So from the HR standpoint and management standpoint, I had that pretty well covered from the years of experience of being in retail management.
Well, Rita kind of hit on my next question, which is what experiences did you not expect to encounter as a business owner? And I think, Rita, you hit on that.
The HR experience, I was not, I was not really as prepared as I wanted to. So I went and bought, in fact, I'm reading one now, another one. John Maxwell has written several books on business management, and every book I can get my hands on to study about how to do this well and be a good leader, and certainly the actual legal ramifications. And then I hired Express Personnel to help me, and you can hire a service to assist you in getting you straight. So I want it right.
You need to
I want it right.
Rose?
I guess there's probably not a lot that I wasn't expecting because I've owned my own businesses off and on my whole life, and I've had a lot of experience working for a lot of really good companies. So I was pretty well covered for everything, like I say, except for circulation. It sounded so easy to take a few magazines here and there to a feed store. But the thing that I didn't expect was the problem that they were 50 miles apart or 70 miles apart. And so it takes a tremendous amount of time to drive to each location and meet the people and drop off the magazines. And then the mailing cost is another huge cost. So it's just as cheap to take them as it is to mail them these days.
So Rose, out of curiosity, do you have a subscription, like problem that just subscribe to?
We do. We allow you to buy a subscription for $20 a year, and it's a free magazine that you 250 locations throughout the state.
Okay, so lazy like me, just
Easier
send me
than
$20. Brian, some things you might have encountered that you didn't expect?
Yeah, fluctuation in the market. I knew going into it that it was going to be a rough road for the first year. I just didn't know how long that year was going to last. It keeps going, it keeps going, but at the same time, that gives me more drive too, because I don't want to sit back and wait for everything to come to me. I want to go out there and get it, and if it doesn't happen, then at least I know in the back of my mind, hey, I tried to, 110% of my ability to keep going. The thing that hit me in the chest the hardest was the amount of taxes that small business owners pay. Didn't make enough money and didn't have enough capital saved up to go out and hire an accountant. So I took some online classes and Googled a lot of things, and I figured out the accounting part on my own, the payroll on my own, and the amount of taxes that I have to pay for myself and my employees from a small business standpoint is extremely, extremely high. And I commend any small business that has survived any length of time and had to pay those taxes. It wowed me. I did not believe that companies had to pay that much for employees, but we did.
And I feel like we're getting hit the hardest.
Getting hit with something.
Yeah.
Well, y'all must have a copy of my questions, because this also leads into the biggest challenges you face as a business owner. Rita, I think we've already touched a little bit on taxes. Anything else besides?
The biggest challenge was, for us, is that when the economy did affect our business and the amount of jewelry that folks were purchasing, I had to reinvent myself. And I believe it doesn't matter what business you're in. I'm looking at Jean. You've had to reinvent yourself in the drug industry when companies are outsourcing the drug business. I've had to reinvent myself in the jewelry business in that I did something I never thought I would do. And that is, in my world, it's the gold mine. I believed that was something for the pawn shops. It was not something for me. And I found a really great way of doing it, and to stay with the same integral face that I desired folks to see. I desired for them to come to me no matter where they were in their life, whether they lost their job, whether they were at the peak of their career, whichever place they were, I wanted to meet those needs. And so I basically teach and train every customer that comes in the door on the benefits of selling the gold, and I give them choices. And a pawn shop's not going to do that. I found ways that would make it effective, and when this economy turns around and people aren't, selling their gold to make their house payment, I want to still be their jeweler. I want to still be their jeweler, and I want them to come to me for, again, every special moment in their life. So to answer that question in one sentence, basically I had to learn how to reinvent myself. That was a challenge I had to face, and I had to be willing to do something I really didn't think I'd ever do before. So.
Rose, besides circulation, the biggest challenges you face as a business owner?
Well, the newspaper business taught me a lot about having a sales staff. So all of my sales staff is independent contractors. So I don't have to pay them a salary. They get straight commission. I don't have to pull the taxes. I don't have any hassles of having an employee. So that part is good. But on the other hand, I can't require a whole lot of them either. So my sales staff is spread out all across North Carolina, and I have to find ways to keep them motivated and keep them out there talking about the magazine and being happy about it and selling it without requiring them to have any set goals or any amount that they have to sell to retain their job. So that's probably one of the biggest challenges.
Do you, being a print piece, do you find any challenges from the internet?
Well, we have an online magazine as well. We have a companion piece. I print my magazine every other month. And the months that we don't have a magazine in print, we have an online version with fresh stories in it. One of the challenges in the horse industry is there's 500 horse shows a year in North Carolina. There's no place out there to find the listing of those shows so that you can attend them. So one of our goals is our website lists all the shows for free. So you can go to our calendar of events and find out what's going in your area. So to drive traffic to the website, we have a section in the magazine called Online Extras, and we list the stories that we'll talk about in the online version of our book.
I have a little girl who used to ride horses, and that was the challenge.
It is a challenge.
Brian?
We've had several challenges since we started, but our two biggest challenges was, one, letting people know where we at. You know, being a brand new business, a brand new store, getting traffic into the store was probably our first biggest challenge. And the second biggest challenge is knocking down stereotypes. So, you know, most people say, well, this is a car audio shop, they're just going to make that loud system that drives by and irritates me at 3 o'clock in the morning. And, yes, we do that, but we're not the ones that drive by your house at 3 o'clock in the morning. But there's so much more to electronics and accessories than people think than just getting a brand new CD player put in. We do iPod integrations, leather interiors, heated seats, window tint, and different other accessories, backup cameras. We do safety systems. We do GPS tracking systems. There's quite a few things that we do. If you want to know more, I have brochures about our business on my table over there. But getting the stereotype of, hey, that's just a stereo shop and all that we do, and getting that mindset into people with video equipment, pretty big challenge.
One more question before we open it up for questions from the audience. What are your goals for your business a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now? We'll start with Rose.
I hope that next year we'll be in every month publication, and hopefully the year after that we'll grow into South Carolina. And I also want to start a magazine for dogs, because AKC's headquarters in Raleigh, and there's no dog magazine anymore except Dog Fantasy, which is a United States-wide magazine.
We also get in touch with a lot of the local dog organizations. My wife is involved with Animal Crackers, and they're crazy about animals. Rita?
You know, I have some really big goals, and I do dream really big, but my big dream is to have a beautiful freestanding store that would draw folks from 100 miles to come to my store for their bridal registry and for their diamond ring and everything in between. And from the moment that they walk in, that they would get their engagement ring and have their invitations printed and be lucky enough to be registered at one of our in our bridal registry. And there is only one family-owned store in the U.S. that is like that, and it's in Omaha, Nebraska. And if they can do it, I can do it. So, and it could be Rocky Mount, North Carolina. And I picked out a place that I think is fabulous, and I won't share it. But I have a big, lofty goal to make a place that folks would come from 100 miles.
I'm sure they do now. Ryan?
We have started planning out where we want to be. I do say we because I involve my team, and they share the same passion I do. Within the next year, we want to add about 2 more product lines. Within the next 3 years, we want to be a completely debt-free company. Don't know if that's going to happen. We're going to shoot for it. Within the next 5 years, we want to build our own store. We've already designed most of it the way we want it to work. But within the next 10 years, like she said, I do dream big and I go big. Within the next 10 years, I want to have a fully functional store that is worthy of maybe being on TV. Some of you guys may have seen West Coast Customs, where they'll take a car and completely transform it. That's the dream shop that I want. I may not want to do as much stuff as he does, because I don't think I can deal with superstars, but for normal, everyday people that want to transform a car from start to finish, that's where I want Wires Inc. to be. And that was one of the reasons why we went with Wires Inc., because it kind of sounded like a TV show. And
Wires Inc., so they call it cops.
Well, I had several different names. I had almost 2 pages of names wrote out of what I thought the company should be, and I wrote Wires all to the side. And my wife's like, "Why don't you just do Wires Inc.? It sounds like a TV show." It's simple and it worked.
All right, let's open up the floor to questions. If anybody has a question, I think Ken is getting the microphone, and I think he wants you to come up and,
I'll do my best to walk.
Here without it.
I think for the camera, is this for the camera, Ken?
Well, just make sure everyone has it, but yeah.
Okay. Brian, I want to mention, because I was telling Betty Jo that you also clean out headlights at Florida. I think that's very important because y'all see those around town a lot, and I want to give you a plug because I think that's a good service that you have available. And I want to ask you if your idea is kind of between the one that for the TV show is kind of a sophisticated version of Pimp My Ride. Is that kind of what you think?
Pimp My Ride is more to the extreme. We would like, and my whole idea since we opened was to give people a ton of choices. Not everybody's going to come in and buy the $500 radio. Some people can only afford the $79 radio. And some people want something in between. And that was my idea. That's why we have so many different products in our stores. I want something available for anybody. But at the same time, we like doing wild and custom stuff as well. So we have customers from time to time. I know the Business Builders Group has heard us talk about it before. We built 2 show vehicles already that toured all up and down the East Coast doing shows. And I'd like for Wires Inc. to become a household name when it comes to customizing a car or truck. But we don't want to go to that extreme because they do some funny stuff that you would never think of doing it to a car. But if you have that idea, I want Wires Inc. to be the first name that pops in your head.
Well, Brian, I think Jean wants to ride Pimp, so.
I think she wants her headlights cleaned first, because she didn't mention it.
Yes, sir.
My question is for Rose, and as someone who's worked in publishing and ink and paper in that industry and circulation, you printed 10,000 copies of Hook Beats. How much did your print run cost you? Because you said you were profitable in the sense that you covered your costs. You haven't earned a paycheck yet, so that's not profitable yet. But you covered your costs. How much was your print run?
$4,633.
Yeah.
And one advantage in the newspaper business is the advertisers pay in advance for their advertising. So I didn't need a whole lot of cash to get my business started because all I needed to do was sell the ads and I would have the money to make the cost.
But that's to be commended because you had money in advance of a product that didn't exist yet.
Right.
So that's something that you should be proud of, that you got sold on a promise of, I will deliver, maybe.
In the first issue, I really didn't have any salespeople but me, so.
If you have a question, you can come just pick up the microphone so I think the camera can.
Hi, my question is twofold. I heard you say something about grants, you applied for grants. I'm kind of getting confused about that.
Okay.
Because I thought nonprofits were the organizations that applied for grants.
Yeah, we later found that to be correct.
Okay.
And if you read the internet, there's a lot of, well, anything on the internet, there's good and there's bad, and we read mostly the bad stuff. Where it said that there was available grants for small business, and there's not. It's basically for nonprofit and charitable companies, not for-profit companies.
Okay, I got kind of a little confused
That's
there.
all right.
Okay. Also, small business is a very important entity in the United States, and I don't understand the fact that when students are in school, it's not really put out there for them to, in their mindset, to become an entrepreneur. It's like you gotta just leave out of school and get this bright idea from somewhere. It's not really put out there like it should be as far as young people are concerned. And if it's so important for our economy, why is that not presented to young people at an early age?
That'd be something you'd have to talk to the school system about.
Well, I think I'll touch on that piece a little bit. I think the community college system, and locally we have Nash and Edgecombe Community Colleges, I think they do a really good job with that. And I think certain schools have recognized what you brought up and do have entrepreneurial type classes, at least maybe when you go to a business piece.
I do know that Nash and Edgecombe both offer free classes. From time to time, you can go to their website and check. That has to do with marketing, accounting, to help small businesses, and those are free classes. So you can check with Nash Community College or Edgecombe Community College about those classes. They do help out, but I see what you're saying is starting in high school and college.
I think this should be started like young, like a lemonade stand. From there, because as little children they're so creative, and they may want to be an entrepreneur, but if nobody put it in their head until they get into high school, junior, college, it'll never be there. So, it's like, start when they're little, back in the day, you had the lemonade stand, you had the Kool-Aid stand. I mean, there's no more of that anymore. And
The health department.
I know, but
I can comment just slightly on that. When I went to college, I didn't really have a plan, and I think most young people, I now have 4 adults that, 4 kids that are adults, and 3 out of the 4 are graduated. 4th one is still in college, but none of them really had truly a vision of what they would be doing after they graduated. Now, they all are gainfully employed, praise the Lord, but I don't believe any of them really understood that tie between opening a business or graduating from college and opening a business and being an entrepreneur. I think part of that is, number one, it's a passion of your own, balanced with knowledge and experience. And I'm thankful for the experiences I had, because it did help me in becoming a better business owner. But it's hard to prepare young people for business ownership. It truly is.
Okay, we're approaching,
One more question.
Ken just said, we do 2 quick questions, Ken?
We got, okay, 2 questions and then we'll.
Yeah, real quick. First of all, I want to commend all 3 of y'all for taking time out of your day to be here. This question's for Rose. You mentioned the fact that you were the only salesperson on your staff. Now, how did you come up with the other 100 that helped you sell the advertising? And again, you mentioned the motivation factor. What are you going to do to keep them so that you can continue to get the ads?
Well, I stole them from the newspapers. Actually, I wrote to all the newspapers that I have acquaintances with, and I asked their sales staff if they were interested in a part-time position to sell ads for me on a commission-only basis, and I've had 7 people reply back that were interested. So I drove to where they were, and we talked, and I trained them a little bit, and that's how I got them started. And the way that I'm keeping them motivated is just a lot of praise, and I try to offer them little extra incentives when they do a good job to keep them interested, and I pay them very fast. If you sell an ad, send me a check for that business, then I'll cut you a check on Friday. So that's great.
That's awesome.
Okay, last question.
As it goes from when you all were talking about Brian and Rita about kind of working for corporate America, how did you feel going from a W-2 to a 1099? How did you adjust to that personally? I know Rita, you mentioned about having to deal with employees, but being self-employed yourself, how did you adjust to that personally?
Well, because John and I are both employed by Wayne Design List, I didn't have a choice but to give myself a salary, and I had to, at the end, on Friday night, I had to pay myself something in order to stay living in my house. So ultimately, I do have a W-2 as well as, I'm an S corporation, so I do have a W-2. But there have been plenty of weeks where I cashed my check, but John didn't cash his, or John cashed his and I didn't. Because certainly my employees, the employees that I have, they get paid first. They're paid off the top, and they're important. And you do dip into the credit card fund and all the other payroll funds that you've got in order to make it. And it was certainly challenging those first few weeks of figuring out how to make it happen.
Ron?
There's no doubt about it.
I'm very much like Rita. I'm an S corporation, so I have to pay myself. And I pay myself weekly, just like employees, except their checks are a lot bigger than mine. But it does take a lot of adjustment to paying yourself. Now, at the end of the year, I still get a W-2 just like I would if I worked any regular job with corporate America or any other job. I still get a paycheck that I have to take to the bank in cash. But I look at the business aspect and my personal aspect, and I've taken personal sacrifices throughout the year. But I also work a part-time job to make up the difference until the company gets either big enough that I don't have to work a part-time job anymore, or to the point that the company is debt-free, and then I'm gonna be a one-job person after that.
Well, Rita, Brian, and Rose, I want to thank you for being up here as panelists, and
Thank you for
you
having
offered
us.
some great information, and so if we could just give a round of applause for our panelists. And I think we're going to go for a 15-minute break and start back at 4 to 4.
Yes, sir. There's some refreshments over at the table over here on the side. Wanted to say those refreshments are being provided today by, we talked about Decadent Delights and providing the chocolate. The chicken is from Chick-fil-A, and the other trays are also from Four Seasons, which is a restaurant here downtown that you can go to 7 days a week. So help yourself, and we'll be starting up around 3:45.